Okay. There we go. Let me make sure that everything is working correctly. Let me make sure that everything is all right. We should be good to go. Hey, how's everyone doing? It has been a hot minute since we've jumped into a live stream, so this is nice. Hey, Blue. How's everyone doing on this cold, damp, and gloomy day? Well, it's not really damp and gloomy where I'm at. It's a little cloudy, but I think it's pretty lovely. But what is gloomy? Is gloomy like a negative? Like, does one internalize gloomy as a negative thing? Because, or is gloomy just tantamount to overcast? For me personally, I really quite love overcast days with the fog rolling in from the mountains and just feeling that cool mist surrounding you. Ah, oh, I love it. Howdy, Sherry. Awesome to have you here. Thank you for being here. It's honestly just really nice to jump into this live stream. I'm sorry I haven't been either uploading as much or doing these live streams as much. My job has just been taking all of my time. Aside from the times that I'm scheduled to come in, I take on additional shifts, and my shifts are being extended, which is really great because I'm trying to get promoted as fast as I can. But on top of that, just trying to make sure that I'm able to stay consistent with YouTube, as consistent as I can be anyway. It's a lot, but you know, I'm making it happen. Right now, so I am a barista alongside a musician for hire. I really just enjoy the coffee making process. It's actually become a hobby of mine at home. I've been drinking coffee this morning, and I just really enjoy the process. Whether it's dialing in the espresso, getting it to the right dosage. I'd like to get a WDT, or the Weiss distribution technique. It's essentially just ensuring that when you pull espresso, there's no clumps in the espresso puck itself, and making sure that it's distributed evenly and you tamp it correctly, you pull it well with temperature control and things like that. I really enjoy the process of making really, really quality espresso, really good quality espresso. So alongside that, I just like making a nice cup of coffee. So that's what I do in my regular job. And I have made good connections with my manager and the managers above my manager, and hopefully we'll be able to get promoted and get a more consistent schedule, so I can plan out my videos and my live streams more consistently as well. Depends on how you feel about the Addams Family. I suppose that's true. But yeah, for me personally, I really just love my overcast, gloomy days. Ooh, yeah. I'm definitely a guy, like, pretty much every day of my life, unless I'm at the gym, you will always see me in black jeans. It's the staple of every single day. um, But especially on overcast days, I really just dig wearing a t-shirt. I love feeling the cool air all around me. It makes me feel really uh, just connected with everything. It's hard to explain. Uh, Coffee snob here too. Starbucks and I are on a first name basis. Yeah, I mean, in terms of Starbucks, Starbucks is going in a good direction from what I've seen. Like they're trying to become more of a cafe and not as much of a fast food chain that sells burnt coffee. Um, but with that being said, they are leaning more into the cafe vibes, and I really, really respect that. Um, but for me personally, there's still a lot of growth to do, not just in the operations of Starbucks, but uh, Starbucks is not going to lean away from how fast they can get you coffee. It's still a fast paced business, very similar to fast food. And even though I've seen a lot of the techniques used for we're going to spend a little bit more time crafting the drinks, making sure that they're not rushed, which is nice. You know, the machines themselves are still fully automatic machines. You can't work with the espresso. You can't really take the time. The machines themselves are designed for rapid commercial use instead of taking the time with each drink, ensuring the best possible quality. And on top of it, just Starbucks drinks themselves are insanely sugary. You can hardly even tell that there's espresso in them. um, but that being said, I think Starbucks is definitely going in the right direction, and I'm really excited to see what they're going to do in the future. But for me personally, in terms of where I like to go in my time off, I really enjoy exploring new cafes, new specialty coffee shops, um, and seeing how they approach latte art, seeing what the notes of the espresso are, how good and consistent they can make microfoam, what the aesthetic and the vibe of the cafe is, how the employees treat you. Uh, is it self-service, like in the sense that you go up and pick up your drink, or do they bring it to you? There's a lot that goes into a cafe beyond just the coffee making process, even though that's absolutely critical. So that's something I really enjoy doing in my spare time, which I really don't have a lot of these days, unfortunately. But I love the process. Um, I miss SoCal days. At 72, my bones are like a soundtrack for a haunted house movie. um, yeah, I'm sorry about that. I love their snacks. Yeah, their snacks are really solid. Like I think Starbucks coffee cake is really good, but it's their and their grilled cheese is nice. But the thing is that I can't, even though I can get those things for free. Uh, like obviously when I'm working, it's still just very much. How do I put it? I can't have them often. I am like I have been working out at the gym once every other day, or I've been keeping consistent to that. Sometimes more rare than common. Sometimes I'll go 2 days without going to the gym, but almost always it's once every other day. And even though I've seen tremendous strides in terms of the strength I've been getting, I haven't been burning a ton of my fat. So, and that's just primarily due to my diet. I love food too much. So, I'm starting to actually work in a lot more consciousness into the food I eat, the calories I intake, things like that, because I really would like to be as strong as I can be for myself and for those around me that I deeply care about, that I want to protect. Uh, just so happens that I'm wearing black jeans. Starbucks makes a pretty nice cup of chai. I'll tell you, the chai concentrate it's got a nice spice to it. Not like heat spice, but spice. And in terms of hot ones, I've recommended it to people I know that if they do get a chai from Starbucks, to get it with very light water or no water, so you can get that full body of chai. The water doesn't dilute it at all. Maybe adding some cinnamon to further highlight some of the aromatic notes of the chai. So it all depends, but uh, it just depends on what you like at Starbucks. Uh, I have heard that Starbucks is limiting or cutting down 30% of its menu. And I think that absolutely is the right call. So I'm really excited to see what they're going to do with the menu. Uh, I use stevia. You can get drinks with that stuff instead of sugar. Uh, yeah, I mean, to each their own. Absolutely. I always like just putting a little bit of sugar and some cream in my morning coffee. So, and I know for a lot of coffee snobs, it's put in a little bit of cream, no sugar, so you can counter a little bit of the bitterness, but still get all the notes of the coffee. And I respect that, and I really do enjoy my coffee with just cream as well. But I like having a little bit of that sweetness. It is pretty nice. So, again, to each their own. Momo, I love your reactions. Have you ever been to the UK? I'm British and live in the UK. Well, first, thank you. Thank you so much for that. Um, I have been to Germany, but I have never been to the UK. I would love to visit the UK, though. There's a lot, like, I really just want to travel the world, um, like many people do. But I really do want to try to make that a reality at some point. Ever since I traveled to Germany and experienced life outside of the US, I knew that I just really want to see how people engage with the world in a way that's not only unique to themselves or to their culture, but to their environment, to their surroundings. What particular habits do they have because of their environment, their milieu? So I would absolutely love to visit the UK at some point. Absolutely. Uh, Hi, Julia. uh, but yeah, so overall, uh, with regard to everything before, I'm just trying to be a little bit more health conscious in terms of my diet. So that way I can actually not just gain strength, but lose the fat. Um, but in terms of my weight has been really good. I've been gaining a lot of muscle recently, and right after this live stream, I'm going to go to the gym, which I'm really excited for because I finished leg day a couple days ago, and it just killed me. I could barely walk and do my shifts. But when leg day is over, then next day is all arms, and I am ready for that. It's my favorite day. uh, but with that said, um, I have a thought, and the thought escapes me. It's fine. I'm sure it'll come to me eventually. But what's up with you guys? What's happening in the world of the chat? Don't overdo it. I've been going to the gym once every other day for the last couple of years, and even though I feel a great soreness after every time I go, I don't hurt myself. Like, I don't injure myself, is a better way of putting it. Uh, so, it makes me happy. I know that it's a long term goal to get to where I want to be. So, overall, it's it ensures that I am working towards the goal of being strong physically, not just mentally, and ensuring that I will be able to protect myself or my loved ones should I ever be put in a position where I need to. So I'm really happy that every time I go to the gym, I know that I'm working towards that goal. Snow. I love the snow. Obviously, there's pitfalls to the snow. Like it could freeze your pipes, or it can be kind of a nuisance when driving. But if you're just relaxing with it, it's just so lovely. It's a really lovely experience. I really enjoy being in the snow. I know many people don't like it because of all of those reasons I just mentioned, and I'm sure many more. But uh, my view on it isn't tainted. I live in Wales, all four countries in the UK. You would love it. Avoid London. I don't like tea or coffee. Not that it matters. You look pretty fine to me. What makes you happy? Oh, thank you. Um, yeah, when one of my instructors, when I was learning data analysis, was from, I believe he was also from Wales. Wales or Denmark. I forgot which one. I know those are two completely different places, but yeah, he was a really good guy. Um, I really do enjoy tea as well. My go-to is coffee, but that's just because I really enjoy the process of making coffee. I don't find as much interest in tea, but I love the calming effects of tea for me. And again, not that it matters. It's all subjective stuff. So, you do you, and obviously, as what you said, whatever makes you happy. One thing I really respect is your transparency regarding mental health. Thank you for that. I struggle and do several other family members. Yeah, so something when it comes to mental health, first, thank you. Mental health is something really challenging that each of us have to go through. Uh, some people choose to avoid it and just exist in this realm of the present, which is really, really beautiful, but I feel like that's more rare to find in people. It's more tied to uh, either a philosophy of not worrying about the past, not worrying about the future, solely existing in the present, but not giving any consideration, learning from the past, planning for the future. There's none of it, which can have its own pitfalls. But there's also something kind of more leaning into something like a Buddhist philosophy, where it's recognizing and learning from the past and making sure that you have goals for the future, but not really reflecting on them deeply in the present moment, just solely experiencing the world around you. There was I believe it was Dostoevsky, who was arrested for criticizing the Russian Tsar at the time and was planned to be executed for treason. And in the time between being arrested and being hauled to the execution site, he experienced a sensation unlike any other where everything in the world just became extraordinarily vivid. He was taking in everything and just feeling as though he could really be in tune with being alive, being in the world, because he was aware of his own mortality in that instance. And eventually, he was able to not be executed, but had to serve a sentence somewhere else, but live. And that kind of and that experience that he had got me really deeply thinking about how can I experience that, not maybe not the same of pure terror, but experience a vitality of living life. Um, like for me personally, and I'm sure I've expressed this in the mental health videos because I've had a few of them on the channel, just in terms of, you know, my life has not been necessarily easy, but there have also been, I also recognize that uh, I'm privileged in many ways that others are not. But that doesn't mean that things in my life have uh, been very easy for me in the slightest. I've struggled deeply with mental health issues. I've struggled deeply with relationships and how to navigate friendships. I've struggled with betrayal uh, and philosophy and just a bunch of different things. And people have led me to, well, this has helped me and it will help you, which is not necessarily the case. Um, I've had plenty of people say you should convert to my religion and proselytize me. There's so at the end of the day, something that I've realized is just taking my own experience, educating myself on everything, and just experiencing the world in a way that makes sense to me. It We don't need to solve the truth of the world, just as long as we're in constant pursuit of truth, and as long as we are in agreement that we can thrive as a species by working together, corroborating on ideas, executing them with our unique skill sets and talents, and engaging with the world in a way that's genuine, authentic, and altruistic, then and realistic, then I think that's a step in the right direction. Like for me personally, even though I'm nowhere near the level of depression that I once was, the level of anxiety that I once was, it doesn't mean that I still that I don't feel its presence at times. Like just recently, I've been experiencing uh, some feelings of inner turmoil, but I've been navigating that and I've been scrutinizing it and reflecting on it, meditating on it, and just thinking about the lessons I can learn from it and how it can better serve me. And, you know, I remember some of the first steps I took were just listening advice from a person that I deeply respected, just reading books about my very issue, my very problem, and just educating myself, just learning, growing. And it's helped tremendously over the years. Uh, my faith helps me a lot. I'm happy for you. Uh, it's helped a lot of others that I've met as well. Uh, was he Danish or Welsh? Uh, I struggle remembering because it was pretty long ago. Um, like I only spoke to him during 2020, which was 5 years ago, and it wasn't that long. It was only a few months. Um, I want to say he was either Welsh or Nordic. I'm I'm not completely sure. But there's a light being shown on Nordic for some reason in my mind. I've never taken part in a live stream before. Well, welcome. Hence, really bad typing, fear not. uh, I would love to have a Buddhist mindset, but it's hard to let go of past events in life. Yeah, so there's Buddhist mindsets are not here's what you need to do it. It's assiduous practice. And for those wondering, I'm not a Buddhist, but I take a lot of Buddhist philosophy into my life because I find it extraordinarily helpful. And letting go and I think there's a misconception, at least for something that I've reflected on, in terms of what someone means when they say let go of the past. It's not letting go of the events that have happened to you, but it's letting go of the shackles that burden you to that memory. In the idea of if somebody deeply wrongs you, they take away something you love or respect, or they hurt you in some mental or physical way that gives you personal justification for lashing out, for revenge, for a deep-seated hatred of them, then I think it's really great to have those feelings because, one, it makes you feel alive, it makes you feel charged, but it's very easy to get lost in those emotions and commit to actions that one might regret. But now you're absolutely charged with energy. And if you're able to have the mental fortitude to assign that tremendous amount of energy and channel it towards productive action, towards action that can actually lead to beneficial results, then ultimately that person who wronged you actually served you a blessing in disguise. And I use this example, not a lot, but in the times that I've brought the subject up because it was just so powerful in my life when it happened. An example of this would be there was a girl in my life that I deeply loved and deeply respected, incredibly talented, skilled, beautiful. We shared a lot of common interests, had enough diversity in opinion that kept our relationship very interesting, and we were a couple for a while. And I just didn't notice the signs of hostility towards me or abuse. So when the inevitable happened and I just completely blinded myself to it, where I was cheated on, and she started making justifications for it, and there was just a lot more horrible things that just kept building on top of it. But that was the primary catalyst for the resentment I harbored. There was a point to where when the relationship inevitably ended, I came to a point of realization where I thought, okay, I can continue feeling like the world is against me, that I can't trust people, that I always need to keep people at a distance. I can't let them get too close to me because I fear getting hurt again like this. But that's not reasonable, at least in the life that I want to live. I want to be able to form connections with others. I want to be able to believe in the goodness of others, even when people have certain eccentricities or have certain characteristics in the persona that they give off or in their true being that's inveterate to their character that might rub others the wrong way. It doesn't mean that they're incapable of providing a genuine goodness in my life and in their own lives. So I always give people the benefit of the doubt, and I always approach with a certain level of caution and distance, but it's always just being able to sit down, reflect, note that people are capable of good things, people are capable of terrible things, but at the same time, uh, it's just recognizing that we're all human beings. We're all trying to navigate the world in a way that makes sense to us. Um, we're all ephemeral. We're all connected through just the fact that all of us are alive in the same period of time on this planet, which I think that in and of itself is beautiful. But all people have something powerful to give. We're all made up of hundreds of thousands of years of evolution, of decision making, of happenstance events, of cause and effect that have led to the DNA being trickled down into how we currently exist. And it's going to keep happening throughout all of human history. And the fact that you exist purely as how you are, I think is really, really beautiful. And recognizing the beauty in the world and recognizing the terrible things that have happened to you in the past, but instead of holding the burden of them, uh, reflecting on how they helped shape your present mindset. And if you truly enjoy being with yourself and truly enjoy the fact that you have learned a little bit of what personal suffering is and you've made it through that and you feel stronger because of it, it's a lot like working out in that way. You, in order to gain new muscle, you first break it down. Uh, Nothing in this world worth achieving is going to be attained without sacrifice of some kind. I truly believe in that philosophy, and I think there's a lot of beautiful things that pair with that. So yeah, I try to celebrate every single day because tomorrow is not guaranteed. Absolutely. I mean, that can absolutely get exhausting as well. But the spirit, the spirit is there. Just being able to say, or just to wake up in the morning, look at the world with eyes of bewilderment, with that childlike wonder, and just say, you know, if you're not working or contributing to society for that day, but like in a way that promotes the expansion of society, then you could just focus on how am I going to engage in the world with the world in a way that feels real to me? How am I going to feel alive in this moment? And some people can do that solely by sitting with themselves, reflecting, feeling the earth under them. And there's a real profound beauty in that. Some people do it by going to the zoo, taking a hike, just doing something that makes them feel grounded. But it all depends on your point of view. So I know for me and a few other people, uh, taking a trip to a theme park and just exploring the fantastical worlds that humans are capable of building, making the unreal real. Uh, there's there's a lot of power that human beings wield that we're not fully sure of in terms of how we navigate our creative powers, but uh, and we don't really realize what it is that we're creating until after we've created it. And even then, we might not fully understand the impact it has. But our creative powers as a species are some of the most incredible I've ever had the fortune of experiencing, such as music, such as art, such as theme parks, experiencing the fantastical worlds that human beings are capable of creating with solely their imaginations. I think that that's just remarkable stuff. Better, not bitter. Yeah, yeah. It's a very succinct maxim to live by. You were so nice to listen to. Oh, thank you. I think there is a fear of the unknown, not only, or there is a fear of the known, not only the unknown. Just like fear of a repeatedly bad experience. That kindness can present itself for many things in life. Absolutely. Like, to piggyback off of that idea, um, often I hear of a person that commits to an act of sinister nature, and there might be a person that says, oh, this person would never do that. Well, maybe not in terms of the persona that they reflect, but nobody really knows what's happening under the facade, under the persona. And on top of that, we as individuals might not fully understand what we're experiencing when we experience something. Emotions aren't just, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm frustrated. They're extraordinarily complex, and we have a difficult time understanding the source of our complex feelings. It's never just one thing, it's a multitude of emotions that mix and coalesce into what it is that we are experiencing. And to have the emotional awareness to understand what it is we're experiencing, how to navigate it, and how not to unleash it upon others is powerfully challenging. it's it's really, really difficult to process, like, am what I experiencing in this moment in time a certain level of pride and ego mixed with insecurity, envy, and wrath, then that could be it. How do I navigate the situation? Or am what I experiencing in this moment sadness, betrayal, but also laziness, also depressive tendencies? If so, how do I navigate that? And on top of that, there might be feelings of bitterness lunged in there. And you would have to navigate, okay, well, if I'm feeling all of these things and I'm experiencing this, how do I maneuver around this? And there's a lot to process. So it's it's never easy navigating the nuance of our own emotions, let alone the emotions of others. It's very similar to that airplane, uh, what is it? The airplane rule, essentially, where it's you can't help other people put on their mask until you put on your own mask. And I believe that's absolutely true. Obviously, we're never going to get it right 100% of the time, but to be able to help yourself as much as you can before helping others is really great. Otherwise, it's just the blind leading the blind. Did you have a chance to listen to the shaman video? I did listen to it, yes. I didn't record it though. Um, I've realized with the Journey video that I can't do older songs like that. I can't put them up. But I did listen to it, and it was very powerful. Yeah. Um, Especially when I listen to music from artists posthumously, then there's just a certain deeper impact to it. Yeah, I thought it was powerful. It moved me. I don't know what else to really comment on though. um, yeah, of course. Um, but with all of that said, uh, yeah, just to succinctly wrap up everything that I was talking about, uh, mental health is everybody's own individual journey. It's an experience we all have to figure out and process through our life. What makes sense to us, what doesn't make sense to us. Do we choose to live in fear? A quote I read recently, I forgot who it was by, but the idea of it is those who enter the tyrant's court are always slaves to the tyrant, but chose to go to the court of their own free will. And that quote really gets me thinking about if we internalize that to ourselves and reflect on the idea that we are our own worst critics and say, well, am I a tyrant to myself? To certain degrees, I'm sure most of us have experienced a certain level of personal abuse to ourselves, of real negative spiral downward thinking. And to some extent, that can even grow to an extreme. But if we reflect on, I'm only experiencing this because to some degree I am experiencing such a tremendous sense of self-loathing in the thought process of I deserve this, then just knowing that you've entered the tyrant's court of your own free will. And at that point, you face the harsh reality of I have no one to blame but myself. Even though you'll try at your absolute hardest to blame circumstances around you. And yes, most of the things that happen in your life are, or at least the majority of things that happen in your life are things outside of your control. We are given a set of rules in this game of life to live by, and we have to navigate those rules in order to better prepare ourselves. Very similar to if we were to take the game Monopoly, for example. You could argue it's all based on luck of the roll, and to a certain extent that's true. But if we're actually calculating what the game is, there are the best properties to buy. Like I remember during COVID, my sister and I decided to play a full game of Monopoly, and we would only take a couple moves every day. And that game lasted for 6 months. But essentially, by the end of the game, I controlled everything from go to free parking, and she controlled everything from free parking to go. So if I had the less valuable properties and she had the more valuable properties, it would be common sense to think, oh, well, she had the most valuable properties, so she would win. I ended up winning, and it wasn't even close. And that's just looking at the board for what it is, seeing the probability of the rolls given, what are the most likely numbers to be rolled, and just different things like that. How easy is it to build on these properties? How fast can I get money in order to build more rapidly instead of taking time building one house at a time on more expensive properties? It's very tactical and very intentional what you decide to do in that game. So when you apply just basic lessons like something in Monopoly or something in chess in life, which is why I think it's really valuable to be a savant, at least take one skill you're passionate about and learn as much as you can about it and apply the lessons you learn towards your life in some way. Obviously, I think being a jack of all trades has a lot of benefits too. It exposes yourself, like you expose yourself to the perspective of many other people in the world who have also experienced that thing. If you are capable of becoming at least proficient in a myriad of various activities and lifestyle choices, let's say, or career paths, then you are that much more capable of navigating your own career and your own life in a way that is real to you. So ultimately, it depends on how it is you choose to navigate, but I think there's a lot of value to be gained from really understanding a particular field, learning from it and incorporating the lessons learned into your life in a way that makes sense. Like, one really obscure thing is when I was in music school, there was a class I took called Alexander Technique, where it's pretty much total awareness of your body when performing. And that might sound like a waste of time, and to some it might be. But for me personally, it gave me such a huge understanding as to what my body is doing, even when I'm doing something impulsively. Like when my leg shakes because I'm anxious about something, or I just have excess energy to relieve because I might have had too much caffeine or something. Um, Before, I was never aware of it, but now I have the awareness that it is happening. And I wonder, well, what is it that I'm doing in this moment that is causing this? And I reflect on it. And I wonder, why do I feel this way? And there's just a bunch of things that I'm constantly reflecting on in terms of my own actions. Like, I know for me, something that I'm sensitive to is hypocrisy. When I see someone being hypocritical to their own statements and in contrast to their own actions, it heavily, heavily bothers me. But at the same time, uh, I notice that my best friend and my sister are the ones who comment not in any accusatory fashion, but they comment on my hypocrisy when I end up committing acts of hypocritical nature. And it really gets me thinking, the people who are most sensitive to a particular type of uh, vice, let's say, are the people that probably end up committing it the most. And that's absolutely true for me. Um, so at the end of the day, I think it just comes down to self awareness and what we can do to just constantly keep growing as a person. Um, I hold no prejudices against other people for committing to acts that I might disagree with, or acts that I don't understand or really care to understand beyond what it is that I already know about them. But that being said, uh, and that's not an excuse to not better educate myself on things, but it's more of, there's things that I would rather spend my time learning from instead of the small nuanced details of a niche field or a niche perspective on something. So at the end of the day, it's all just how you want to live life and not letting things of the past burden you. Uh, and it's extraordinarily difficult, obviously, because you can't just say, oh, yeah, that's great, and then live your life, and then a particular cue happens in your life and it just immediately flushes you into those negative feelings. Um, but because, again, emotions and feelings are extraordinarily complex. But at the same time, it does come to a point of, what actions are you going to take so you no longer become inundated with your own tyrannical self, of self abuse, of I deserve to be feeling this pain of the mistakes I've made in my past. Um, I know for me personally, I didn't even, like, I had pretty much no self awareness throughout the beginning of my life through much of my 20s. And because of that, I ended up hurting a lot of people and I made a lot of enemies. And that wasn't something that I ever intended for, but it happened. So I think about, what is it that I can do to ensure that the words that I'm saying are intentional, that I'm not rubbing people the wrong way, or if I am, then it's because of how they're internalizing what it is that I'm trying to convey. But I know that my felicity is growing. My ability to use my English language to best express my thoughts and my actions. And it doesn't make me a perfect person by any stretch, but I'm at least much more self aware and I'm able to uh, express honesty directly. And that also rubs people the wrong way a lot, but to the people who do recognize it and uh, see what it is that I'm trying to do, they deeply value it and know that they can come to me whenever they need something. And that's part of the reason why uh, one of my closest friends, he and I have antithetical views of the world. Um, like how we engage with the world, our values, they're opposite, essentially. But I see him for his character. I see him for the kind of person he is. And, excuse me, he's a really beautiful person, very kind and compassionate uh, and very committed. And those are qualities that both of us share and uh, connect with each other over. So, you know, if all we're capable of doing is, well, you don't have my values, so we can't be friends. I think that's ridiculous. Um, and my good friend is absolute proof of that. Um, so, like, as and a really good example of this could be for me living in California uh, presently. I am just completely surrounded by people of a very specific uh, political and religious mindset. And I do not share pretty much any of them. uh, I do support independent thinking, independent thought, and freedom to express yourself in a way that is authentic to you. But I feel people are just caught up in the group spirit and people just want to feel accepted by their peers. So they don't really think about their natural talents, their own uniqueness, and just kind of fall into the trap of, well, other people that I respect are doing this, so I can do it. And it's kind of a cop out in some way. It destroys your own unique talents and creative powers. But going beyond that, something I really enjoy doing is I recently picked up the hobby of trap shooting, and I really enjoy it. It puts me in a state of zen. I can just focus on that single unique task in that one moment, and it also got me over uh, my fear of the narrative of guns. Um, I quickly learned early on just how kind many of the people at the range were. They were all about not just safety, even though that's absolutely huge, but they were just really affable. They're very approachable, kind hearted, always wanting to see others improve and be just very generous. They're very conversational, sharing stories of their past, of their families, and they do so with these really bright and lively eyes that are so animated. And it it's so beautiful watching fully grown adults, even the elderly, uh, just have this childlike wonder in their eyes, in their heart, and you feel that it's palpable. And and that wasn't something that I expected when I went into the sport, but here we are. So just and that just goes to show that when you experience something and become a proficient in that particular thing, not buying into the narrative itself, but rather experiencing it for yourself and seeing for yourself what something actually is. There's something really powerful about that. So don't just buy into the narrative. Don't buy into the group spirit. Don't get swept up in the fear mongering of others, or in the the propaganda, or the your own personal desire to be just liked and accepted by people. Because I know for me, I think quality of friends is tremendously better and much more fulfilling than quantity of friends. I got rid of social media. I lost connection with a myriad of people that I've met throughout the majority of my life. I pretty much only talk to like four people um, outside of my family. And sometimes that's even considerably less. Sometimes I just talk to two people. um, but with that said, these people are incredible. And there's no place I'd rather be than just being able to create a conversation with them, and enjoy their company. So at the end of the day, it just comes down to what you ultimately want for yourself and how you navigate the extreme complexity and nuance of the world. You and your group do not know what's best for the richness of humanity. Uh, People of all types are capable of expressing something of true value that may go against your own values or your group's values. But that doesn't mean that the opinion that they express, the or their world experience doesn't have value. It absolutely does, and there's something to be learned from it through their experience of going against the grain. So at the end of and that's not like a bash on groups. If you're a part of any particular community or group, good for you. You found your people, and I think that's awesome. Um, you've found like-minded people, and that's great. But it is very easy to get swept up in the group spirit and the group mentality, and that could be diminishing to your own uniqueness and creative powers. So always just ensure that you're thinking for yourself and experiencing the world, not through the group necessarily, but engaging through the world in a way that is uniquely your own. And that's another part of Buddhist philosophy, which is you existing in the present. Something else I really like about uh, that Buddhist philosophy is it actually ties pretty closely to a Stoic principle, which is when we love someone dearly and we hug them or kiss them, we have the mental awareness that we're hugging or kissing a mortal, a human being. And it's not that we're having a detachment from them, but it's recognizing that we're all ephemeral and we're all going to die someday, which is all the more reason that makes this moment of me expressing love and compassion towards this person that much more beautiful, because it's fleeting. And there's something just so profound and mesmerizing about that. And I absolutely, and that ties into the Buddhist philosophy of truly enjoying the present moment. Uh, Obviously, it's that philosophy is much more geared towards enjoy the present moment all the time, whether you take in a breath and you smile because you're breathing. Um, where we only really experience true joyful moments in the moment of the joyful moment. But it's just something to keep in the back of your mind, in my opinion. I've been talking for a lot. Let me get through this. I have to scoot, though. It's been fun chatting with you. You're very wise. Oh, thank you. uh, I'm an old lady. You speak so well and openly with rationale. I have stressed early in life that you've given me so much to think about. Time does heal, but scars linger longer. Yeah, you know, And that's not just metaphorical, but it could be physical. Like I absolutely have scars on my arm for it. But whenever I reflect on that, it gave me a lot greater sense of balance in my life today, because there was a point in my life where I'm like, I really want to get tattoos. I want to get sleeves. I really want to just experience art on my body and things like that. And no discredit to people that absolutely do want those things. You know, you live your life in a way that's authentic to you. But for me, I started going into, I don't need these things to be happy. And these scars can serve as a reminder to ground me, to not lose myself. And every time that I feel bouts of stress or bouts of depression, or uh, I feel myself getting lost beyond uh, the typical grounding that I'm capable of providing myself, the footing rather, um, then I have a reminder of something that will always ground me, something that says that I will not fall back into this. And me being as stubborn as I am, it's more of a refusal. And I am able to come back into myself, calm myself, and figure out pragmatic, workable solutions that are also emotionally conscious, that won't absolutely destroy me. So I think there's a lot of beauty in that. Um, which also feeds into why I don't really like material possessions that I don't use. Um, as you can probably tell, my room is pretty barren. I have a lamp, a bed, uh, a stool back there to to get things in places that I can't reach. Even though I can pretty much reach most things, I'm more or less pretty tall. Uh, and a couple of whiteboards just to remind me of really powerful quotes that I've read and have internalized in my life. Let me see. I hope you can be fulfilled in life. You have intelligence and tolerance. I'm an overthinker. I'm already fulfilled, and I will continue to be fulfilled. So I appreciate that. And I feel most people are overthinkers to some capacity. I overthink things from time to time as well. Um, uh, I am flustered by the typing. I'm not making much sense. What part isn't necessarily making sense? Because I know that I can just ramble and go on detours and thoughts. So please let me know. I came across your channel in a roundabout way through your reactions to Dan. I really enjoy your reactions to music. Thank you, Christy. Um, I love music. Music is something that's always been a part of my life. Uh, from my earliest memories, my parents have surrounded me with music. Um, my mother ensured that I listened to classical music, and my father ensured that I listened to the Beatles and classic rock, but primarily the Beatles. And uh, it wasn't until I went to college that I even knew that there were other genres of music. But it's that foundation of, this is what music is capable of, and just being able to not just serve as a bridge away from reality, but serve as a connecting thread through a myriad of cultures and experience organized sound in a way that moves us emotionally. I find that to be extraordinarily powerful. And I feel most arts are capable of this. Um, but I just have a deep personal sense of that connection with music. So yeah, I really just dig music as a whole, and I feel it in my whole being, which is what I try, not what I try to express, but what I end up expressing in my videos. Um, and I'm really thankful that I was able to get an education at it in order for me to express my my thoughts on it. I try not to be too technical. I could be, but I don't think the the layman is going to fully like appreciate that. Like they could be dazzled by the big words I use, or like, ah, yes, I've heard of this word before. But no, I just want everybody to come together to appreciate music, and I feel like if I only use terms musicians use, then it's not just going to sound a little pretentious, but nobody would understand. And I feel like the videos would be too long if I used something, fully explained, this is everything that this is and all of its nuance, um, and went forward with it. So, plus, it would derail me from my thoughts and what I'm experiencing in the reaction. So, yeah. uh, Crazy thought hit me dead on the other day. I realized that I have never been able to hear Mozart playing with Miles Davis. That I realized that I had or that had I ever been able to hear Mozart playing with Miles Davis, well, that would be mind blowing. Maybe. I'm not really sure. Uh, I mean, a lot of styles do draw from classical music. Um, but when I think about people like John Coltrane and Miles Davis, they were masters at their particular sound and style in the field of jazz, where Mozart was much more of it's his unique style. Um, During his lifetime, he went around performing with his father and I believe his sister, but and the sister was a remarkable musician, but due to it being the time period that it was, she wasn't quote unquote allowed to be a composer, even though Mozart himself had said, Wolfgang himself had said that she was remarkable. Even I, and I hear this as a rumor, but it very well could be true that she was a better composer than him. Uh, but with that said, in his life, he just did commission work, a lot of it, just writing for royalty and just writing pieces that really didn't fulfill him. It wasn't until he became fully recognized as the Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart that his brain just exploded with all of these creative ideas and just wrote everything that he wanted to write down. And it was, and in his short life, he was able to create some of the most incredible works, but that was because he understood his style. He understood what it is he fully wanted. So the clashing of ideas there between jazz musicians and who have definitely their own style and the classical musician, I don't know. I don't know how that would go. I wouldn't necessarily think it to be bad, but those are two musicians that might get on each other's egos. But I don't know. I wouldn't know until it happens, and it's obviously never going to happen. So, we'll see. We'll see. um, and by we'll see, I mean we'll never see. But yeah, I don't know. It would be interesting to find out though if AI technology gets good enough where we can replicate a faux conversation between the two and see what would happen. But yeah. So with all that said, It has been over an hour. It has been 70 minutes. I am going to go to the gym and then take a nap. I'm exhausted. It's been a very long week for me, and I still have more to do. So, should I nap? I don't really nap. I just kind of fall asleep. We'll see. We'll see how I'm feeling. But until then, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your evening. This has been really great, and I'm glad you all were able to be here for the time that you guys were. And I'll catch you all later.